people that are already transferred into a PM role but doesn't have a tech background. For those people, do you have any suggestions for them? What are some of the tools, even books that they can look into? For folks that are still in school, do you recommend they take stats class more, or modeling, or programming class? Now that you probably interview people, what is your favorite question to ask?
The biggest thing that you can take through the doors here is a real passion for wanting to solve these problems with us, because they're really hard.
Hi, this is Flora. This is Flora. This is Flora again. Flora's street interview.
Welcome back to my channel. This is the second part of my interview with Jack Moore, product manager at Qventus. This part, he mainly talked about things you can do to prepare for an interview as a product manager in the data science product field.
For folks that are still in school, do you recommend they take stats class more, or modeling, or actual programming classes?
I think that every product manager, every aspiring product manager should endeavor to take at least one programming course during their time in school. I think it's an incredibly valuable experience. You don't need to be a good developer to be a product manager, but you do need to have some understanding of what it is that your engineers are going through when they're being asked to develop things. Yeah, statistics is a great skill set to be able to have. Understanding being able to understand and quantify the output of a model, at least a basic understanding of data science is helpful. There are a lot of different online courses out there. How to apply data science, tutorials on how to write Python scripts which apply data science to data sets, and all sorts of really interesting public data sets around traffic and public health and all that. And if you wanted to kind of take a crack at doing some of that, that's a really great way to understand some of the technology.
I actually have people that are already transferred into a PM role but doesn't have a tech background. So then for those people, do you have any suggestions for them? What are some of the tools, even books that they can look into to enhance those skills?
I think that the biggest thing as a product manager is trying to be honest about the things that you don't know, and asking your team to explain concepts to you. I ask my team all the time. They'll use some acronym that I don't understand, or reference some technology that I've never heard of, and I'll stop them and ask them, like, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. Can you try and explain that to me so that I have some context? My favorite product management books, I'm not sure if it helps as much in terms of trying to bridge a gap of technical understanding, but if you want to be a good product manager, I really love Inspired by Marty Kagan, or User Story Mapping by Jeff Patton. There's two of my favorite product books.
What are some of the tools that you really like to use?
Like Excel. I use a lot of Excel just because it's a really easy to use, really easy to spin up tool for doing data analysis and that sort of thing.
So what particular functions or do you use in Excel?
So the Excel pivot table might be one of the most impactful technologies. That's one of the technologies that's had the greatest impact on my life. What I'll use Excel or Google Sheets or something like that for is to try and create some really rough model that says, based on the outputs that we're getting from a data science model, what is the value of it? So, if I were trying to predict whether or not a patient is going to readmit to the hospital, what's the value to the hospital of doing that correctly? What's the value? What's the cost of doing it incorrectly? And by understanding those two outcomes, you can kind of draw a line and say, okay, well, this is where the model needs to be operating in order to be a net gain.
What about data visualizations? What are some of the tools you'd use?
Yeah, in terms of data visualization, I'm very lucky that here at Qventus we have a data analytics team who helps me out a lot. But my all-time favorite tool for data visualization has been Tableau.
My audiences will be interested to know, like, when you are applying to all these roles, what are some of the common interview questions you will see?
I think a lot of the common interview questions that I've seen have to do with the mission of the company. I think that it's one thing you'll ask people. People will always ask you, like, why do you want to work here? And so it's always important to find places where you genuinely think you would like to work there, and that the problem they're trying to solve is worthwhile. Otherwise, a lot of times you'll get screener questions around You'll get screener questions particular to the technology you might be working with. So for data science, someone might ask you, what's the difference between precision and recall? Just so that they know that you have some basic understanding. Or one, I forget what the right answer is, but what's your favorite product is another really common one. And I know there was Crushing the Product Manager Crushing the PM Interview. It's like a great book out there that covers stuff like that.
Okay, what is, now that you probably interview people, what is your favorite question to ask?
So my favorite question, and any product manager or engineer who comes through the doors here at Qventus will hear it from me, is I'll ask someone what is their favorite consumer application of data science or artificial intelligence. And you get a bunch of really interesting answers, and you can always tell how much, or you can tell whether or not someone has a basic understanding and a curiosity for data science based on their answer, because they'll, the great candidates, their eyes light up and they say, oh my gosh, I was just reading about Netflix's their content ranking algorithm or something like that, and you get, obviously it's important to be genuine, and so it's always fascinating to hear some of the answers that people come up with when you run into someone who's genuinely curious about data science and its applications.
Okay, cool. And then lastly, I want to ask for some insiders tips for those who maybe want to apply for Qventus as a PM. So do you have any suggestions for them?
One of the reasons why I love Qventus is how passionate we all are about the real outcomes that we're trying to achieve. And everyone here is really driven to solve this problem of the inefficiencies of the healthcare system. And the biggest thing that you can take through the doors here is a real passion for wanting to solve these problems with us, because they're really hard. They're really hard. It takes a lot of hard work. You deal with a lot of characters, and you have to put up with a lot of really interesting, fascinating, and constant issues. And it takes being really passionate about solving this problem in order to do it right.
Okay. So you're looking for someone that's really passionate about solving problems.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jack shared about many insights for students and new product managers. But the key points I learned this time is that rather than just the skill sets, tech companies are looking for people who are really passionate about the problems that they are solving, because they are hard. So instead of just targeting a job title, find out what you're really interested and target the companies in that field. Research about the big players in the field, what are the best practices, and how they solve their problems. Like the Netflix example Jack gave in the end. Those knowledge will help you stand out in your interview. Coming up, I'll be talking to a communication intern at Tesla and a people analyst at Google. If you're interested to know how they get their jobs, subscribe my channel. If you find my content helpful, please like or comment below.